Hi, Cole first graders. This is Mrs. Holly, and I'm going to read you a book by a new author. Her name is Vera B. Williams. We're going to study Vera B. Williams's books, so take note on what you think some of the characteristics of her books might be. I only see one name on the book. The title of it is A Chair for My Mother, but the only name I see is Vera B. Williams. So that tells us that, like Bob Graham, Vera B. Williams is the author of these books and the illustrator. Let's get it a go. A Chair for My Mother. It won a Caldecott honor, so be sure you're looking at the pictures, because that means it has some really good pictures. I love this. Look at it all the way around. She's got a border. Oh, look at this border. This one's a little different. This one says the Blue Tile Diner. That's where she's going in, the character here. And the border kind of looks like blue tiles. That's interesting. My mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash the salts and peppers and fill the ketchups. One time I peeled all the onions for onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half my money into a jar. There's the jar. It takes a long time to fill a jar this big. Every day, when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep while I count the money out into piles. Some days she has lots of tips. Some days she has only a little. Then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. We sit in the kitchen to count the tips. Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings and they go into the jar. I see the jar on the table. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we are going to take out all the money and go and buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We are going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our other house. All our chairs were burned. So did our sofa, and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals. She had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips, and she was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Look at the border. Look at the border all around. It kind of looks like the orange flames she's talking about from the fire. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her, but everything else in our whole house was spoiled. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. Oh, look, there's one of the chairs. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow and the floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us a beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware and dishes. My cousins brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. "You are the kindest people," she said, "and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start over again." Look at all the people giving them things. That's so nice. That was last year, but we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. "There's no good place for me to take the load off my feet," she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can on a hard kitchen chair. So that is how Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into the jar. Now the jar is too heavy for me to lift down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so that I could put it in. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood in front of the jar. "Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full," Mama said. My mother brought home little paper wrappers for the nickels and the dimes and the quarters. I counted them all out and wrapped them all up. On my mother's day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus down to the shop so we could shop for our chair. We shopped through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller chairs, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks in the 3 Bears, trying out all the chairs. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. Do you see the chair they picked out? Doesn't have a picture of it on the front cover, but here it is, right here. It's the one with the roses on it that they were dreaming about, in the bright carpet on the middle. And then check out the border. The border is also those same roses. I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit there in a while they carried it up the door. Oh. There they are. We set the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I all sat in it while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit with her, and she can reach right up and turn out the light if I fall asleep in her lap. And then there they are. There's the picture of all 3 of them in the chair together. Vera Williams. Can you imagine something like that happening to you? Maybe not necessarily a fire, but some reason that you bought some new furniture and how you all used that new furniture. Or maybe it wasn't new furniture, maybe it was new something else. Maybe a new dress or some new shoes that you worked really hard for. We'll continue with another Vera Williams book and we'll compare it to what she's doing in this book next time.